The crystal spires of the Hegemony Council stretched toward the crimson sky of Dominion Prime, their surfaces pulsing with the power of 1,000 conquered worlds. Within the great assembly chamber, 12 species sat in judgment over the galaxy they had ruled for millennia. Each member represented billions of subjects, countless resources, and military might that had never known defeat. Overlord Krath, the ancient reptilian who had led the hegemony for 3 centuries, raised his scaled hand for silence. His yellow eyes, each the size of a human head, swept across the assembled council members. The chittering and hissing that filled the chamber ceased immediately. "We have discovered a new species," Krath announced, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "They call themselves humans. They inhabit a small world in the outer rim, a blue planet they name Earth." The reaction was immediate. Councillor Vex, a mantis-like creature with razor-sharp claws, clicked her mandibles in amusement. "Another primitive species seeking to join our ranks. How tedious." "Indeed," agreed Councillor Thane, whose jellyfish-like form pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of contempt. "What technology do they possess? Surely they have achieved at least basic quantum manipulation to dare contact us." The Chamber's chief intelligence officer, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, flickered as it accessed the data. "Their technology is remarkably primitive, Overlord. Their fastest vessels achieve barely 1/10 light speed. Their weapons are crude projectile systems and basic energy beams. They have no quantum shielding, no dimensional weaponry, no bioneural networks." Laughter erupted throughout the chamber. Some council members fell from their floating platforms. In mirth, others created cacophonous sounds that passed for humor among their species. "How many vessels comprise their entire fleet?" Krath asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer would be amusing. "Intelligence suggests approximately 200 vessels, Overlord. Most appear to be converted cargo ships with minimal armament. Their largest vessel measures only 800 meters in length." The laughter grew louder. Councillor Vex wiped tears from her compound eyes. 800 meters. My personal yacht is larger than their flagship." "What message did they send us?" Krath inquired, though his expression suggested he was merely prolonging the entertainment. "They request peaceful contact, Overlord. They speak of friendship, knowledge, sharing, and mutual benefit. They seem to believe they have something to offer the hegemony, something to offer us." Thane's bioluminescent patterns shifted to express incredulity. "What could such primitives possibly possess that we would want?" The intelligence officer flickered again. "They speak of something called human ingenuity and creative problem-solving. They claim these traits make them valuable as allies." The chamber erupted in such violent laughter that several structural supports cracked. Krath's massive form shook with amusement. Creative problem-solving against the combined might of the hegemony, against technologies they cannot even comprehend. "Overlord," Vex said, regaining her composure, "perhaps we should make an example of them. Young species throughout the galaxy are watching. If we allow such primitive beings to exist without demonstrating our superiority, others might grow bold." "An excellent suggestion," Krath agreed. "However, I see no need to deploy our full might against such insects. Commander Rex, how many vessels would you require to utterly destroy their civilization?" Commander Rex, a cybernetic being whose organic components had been replaced with quantum-enhanced machinery, calculated for precisely 0.003 seconds. "Overlord, based on their primitive technology, a single patrol squadron of 50 vessels would be sufficient to annihilate their entire species." I recommend we broadcast the destruction across the galaxy as a warning to others. 50 vessels, Krath mused. Yes, that seems appropriate. Make it so, Commander. Show these humans what happens when insects dare to speak to gods. Far across the galaxy, on the blue world that had dared to contact the hegemony, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the massive view screen in Earth's Strategic Defense Command. The facility, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with activity as humanity's greatest minds worked frantically to prepare for what everyone knew was coming. Sarah was not what most people expected from Earth's highest-ranking military officer. At 52, she was relatively young for such a position, with short black hair and intelligent brown eyes that missed nothing. She had earned her rank not through political maneuvering, but through tactical brilliance that had resolved 3 separate colonial conflicts without a single civilian casualty. Admiral, called Dr. Alina Vasquez, Earth's Chief Technology Officer. We finished analyzing the hegemony's response to our message. Sarah turned from the view screen, where images of Earth's defense fleet rotated slowly. To any observer, the ships looked exactly as the hegemony's intelligence had described. Converted cargo vessels with minimal armament, barely holding together. Let me guess, Sarah said. They laughed. Quite literally, Admiral. Our Xenaling team detected at least 12 different forms of what can only be described as derisive laughter. They're sending a force of 50 vessels to make an example of us. 50 ships, Sarah repeated, nodding slowly. And they expect this to be sufficient to destroy our entire civilization. According to their transmissions, yes. They consider it overkill. Sarah smiled, and Dr. Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine. She had seen that smile before, during the Martian crisis. It was the smile of someone who knew something their opponents did not. Doctor, what is the current status of Project Titan? Alina checked her tablet. All systems are operational, Admiral. Captain Torres reports that the Titan is ready for deployment. The camouflage systems are functioning perfectly, and the weapon systems have exceeded all performance expectations. And our decoy fleet, positioned and ready. The crews understand their roles. They'll put on quite a show for our visitors. Sarah nodded and walked to the central command console. Around her, hundreds of technicians monitored displays showing Earth's pathetic defenses. To anyone watching, humanity appeared to be a species on the brink of extinction, desperately trying to prepare for a battle they could never win. Admiral, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving a transmission from the hegemony fleet. They've entered our system. Put it through, Sarah ordered. The view screen filled with the terrifying visage of Commander Rex. His cybernetic form was a nightmare of metal and flesh, designed to intimidate enemies into submission. When he spoke, his voice carried the electronic distortion of advanced vocal processors. Primitive humans of the world called Earth, Rex began. I am Commander Rex of the hegemony fleet. You have committed the grave error of attempting to contact your superiors without permission. As punishment, your entire species will be exterminated. You have one rotation of your planet to surrender unconditionally. If you comply, your deaths will be swift. If you resist, they will be prolonged. The transmission ended abruptly. Sarah looked round the command center. Every eye was on her. Some of the younger officers showed fear, but the veterans who had worked with her during the preparation phase remained calm. Well, Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber, they certainly know how to make an impression. Communications, open a channel to all Earth Defense Force vessels. Channel open, Admiral. Asterisk all units. This is Admiral Chen. The hegemony fleet has arrived. They believe they face a primitive species with outdated technology and no hope of victory. Let's make sure they continue to believe that for as long as possible. Decoy fleet. You are authorized to engage. Remember, your job is not to win. Your job is to look like you're losing badly while gathering intelligence. Show them exactly what they expect to see. She paused, then added, and to the crew of the Titan, maintain radio silence and await my command. When the time comes, show them what human ingenuity really looks like. The hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts. Each vessel was a marvel of advanced technology, bristling with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand stellar radiation. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with exotic materials that seemed to bend light around them. Asterisk. Commander Rex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Render, and observed the pathetic display before him. The human fleet was arrayed in what appeared to be a defensive formation, but to Rex's enhanced senses, it looked more like a group of scavengers trying to protect their scraps. Commander, reported his tactical officer, the human fleet consists of 47 vessels. Our sensors confirm they are converted cargo ships with minimal armament. Their largest vessel appears to be a refitted colony transport. Pitiful, Rex commented. Begin the attack. Target their largest vessel first. Let them watch their flagship burn before we destroy the rest. The first wave of hegemony fire lit up space like a new sun. Beams of concentrated energy that could melt asteroids struck the human flagship. The ancient vessel's shields flickered and failed almost immediately. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull as the primitive armor was breached. Direct hit, Commander, the tactical officer reported. The human flagship is critically damaged. Rex watched as the human ship listed to one side, atmosphere venting from multiple breaches. He had to admit, the humans were braver than he had expected. Instead of fleeing, they were actually trying to return fire. Of course, their weapons were pathetically ineffective. The quantum beams from their ships barely registered on the hegemony vessel's shields. It was like watching insects try to fight. Giants. Commander, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through, Rex ordered. Let's hear there, please, for mercy. The face that appeared on the screen was weathered and determined. The human identified himself as Captain Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. His ship was burning behind him, but his expression remained defiant. Hegemony forces, Brooks said. You have attacked Earth unprovoked. We demand that you withdraw immediately. Rex's mechanical laughter echoed through the bridge. Demand? You dare make demands of the hegemony? Your flagship is dying, human. Your fleet is outmatched. Surrender now, and we will consider making your deaths quick. We will never surrender, Brooks replied. Earth will be defended. Then you will die pointlessly, Rex said, ending the transmission. The battle continued for 3 hours. One by one, the human vessels were destroyed or disabled. They fought with desperate courage, but courage meant nothing against superior technology. Rex watched with satisfaction as the last human ship went silent, its hull torn open by quantum fire. All human vessels destroyed or disabled, Commander, the tactical officer reported. No survivors detected. Excellent, Rex said. Now we can proceed to the planet itself. Begin orbital bombardment of their major population centers. We'll start with their capital cities and work our way down. As the hegemony fleet moved toward Earth, Rex felt a deep satisfaction. Another primitive species had been crushed. Another example had been made. The galaxy would remember this day and understand that the hegemony's dominance was absolute. He had no way of knowing that hidden in the darkness beyond Earth's moon, something massive was stirring. Something that would change everything the hegemony thought they knew about these primitive humans. The Titan was awakening. The Revelation Captain Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of humanity's greatest secret, watching the destruction of the decoy fleets with calculated calm. Around him, the bridge crew of the Titan-class battleship worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment for 15 years, and now their time had come. The Titan was nothing like the converted cargo ships the hegemony had just destroyed. At 5 kilometers in length, it was a true leviathan of space, its hull constructed from materials that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Its weapons systems were based on principles that most species had never even theorized about, and its defensive capabilities were beyond the comprehension of conventional military thinking. "Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, the ship's tactical officer, "the hegemony fleet is moving into bombardment position over Earth. They're preparing to begin planetary bombardment." Marcus nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. At 61, he was one of the few humans who remembered the early days of the Titan project, when it had been nothing more than a desperate dream. Now, watching the arrogant alien fleet prepare to destroy his homeworld, he felt the weight of humanity's survival resting on his shoulders. "Commander Kim," he said quietly, "you are authorized to bring all weapons systems online. Engineering, begin charging the quantum resonance array. Communications, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies." "Sir," called out Dr. James Park, the ship's chief science officer, "the hegemony fleet is scanning the planet's surface. They're identifying population centers for targeting." Marcus stood and walked to the central command chair, a masterpiece of human engineering that interfaced directly with the ship's quantum neural network. As he settled into the chair, he felt the Titan's consciousness touch his mind, sharing its vast computational power with his human intuition. "All stations, this is the captain," he announced. "Today, we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens Earth. We show them what human ingenuity really means." He activated the ship's internal communications system. "All crew, this is Captain Torres. For 15 years, we have prepared for this moment. We have trained, we have studied, and we have built something that no one else in the galaxy thought possible. Today, we prove that humanity will not be underestimated. Today, we show them the Titan." Commander Rex stood on the bridge of the world, reviewing the targeting data for Earth's major cities. The planet below was a vibrant blue-green jewel, soon to be a lifeless rock. It was almost a pity to destroy something so beautiful, but the hegemony's dominance required such demonstrations. "Commander," the tactical officer reported, "all weapons are locked onto primary targets. Beijing, London, New York, Moscow, Tokyo, and 30 other major population centers are identified for simultaneous bombardment." "Excellent," Rex replied. "Begin the bombardment sequence. Let's finish this and move on to more important matters." The hegemony ships began to glow as their planet-cracking weapons charged. In moments, billions of humans would die, and another species would join the long list of civilizations that had dared to challenge the hegemony. That was when Rex's sensors detected something impossible. "Commander," the sensor officer called out, his voice tight with confusion, I'm detecting a massive object emerging from behind the planet's moon. It appears to be a ship, but the readings are ... unprecedented. Rex frowned, his cybernetic implants interfacing with the ship's sensor array. What he saw made his enhanced mind struggle to process the data. A vessel of impossible size was emerging from concealment. It was larger than anything Rex had ever seen, its hull seeming to bend light around it in patterns that hurt to look at. As it moved, space itself seemed to ripple around it, as if reality was being altered by its passage. Analysis, Rex demanded. Sir, the vessel is approximately 5 kilometers in length. Its whole composition is unknown to our databases. It's generating energy readings that exceed our measurement capabilities. And Commander ... it's human. Rex's mechanical laughter died in his throat. Human. Impossible. These primitives don't have the technology to build anything larger than their converted cargo vessels. Sir, I'm detecting more vessels. They're all around us. The space around the hegemony fleet suddenly filled with ships. Not the converted freighters they had just destroyed, but sleek, deadly vessels that seemed to have been constructed from materials that absorbed light. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls rippling with energy patterns that Rex's enhanced. Vision could barely track. How many? Rex asked, his voice losing its confident tone. 37 vessels, sir. All of unknown configuration, all reading as human. Rex stared at the tactical display, his enhanced mind racing to understand what he was seeing. The humans had deceived them. The pathetic fleet they had just destroyed had been a lie, a carefully constructed illusion designed to make the hegemony underestimate Earth's true capabilities. Commander, the communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from a large vessel. Put it through, Rex ordered, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. The face that appeared on the screen was that of a human male, perhaps 60 years old, with grey hair and calm brown eyes. He wore a uniform that was clearly military, but unlike anything in the hegemony's databases. Commander Rex, the human said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. I am Captain Marcus Torres of the Earth Defense. Force Vessel Titan. You have committed acts of war against the sovereign world of Earth. You have 47 minutes to withdraw from our system. Rex's mechanical laughter returned, though it sounded forced. Withdraw. You think one large ship can stand against the might of the hegemony? We have 50 vessels, human, 50 ships equipped with weapons that can shatter worlds. Correction? Torres replied calmly. You have 50 ships equipped with weapons that can shatter worlds using conventional physics. Unfortunately for you, the Titan doesn't operate on conventional physics. What are you talking about? Rex demanded. Torres smiled, and Rex felt something cold settle in his mechanical heart. Commander, your species has ruled the galaxy for centuries using the same basic principles of technology. Quantum manipulation, dimensional weapons, bioneural networks. Very impressive, but ultimately limited by your understanding of reality itself. Explain yourself, human. We call it quantum consciousness, Torres said. The ability to interface organic intuition with quantum computational matrices. Your computers think in calculations, Commander. Ours think in possibilities. Your weapons operate on the principle of applying force to matter. Ours operate on the principle of convincing matter that it doesn't need to exist. Rex felt his senses go mad as the massive human ship began to glow with energy patterns that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Impossible, such Technology is purely theoretical, Commander, Torres said, his voice gentle but implacable. You have 46 minutes to withdraw from our system. If you refuse, we will demonstrate exactly how theoretical our technology is. Rex cut the transmission and turned to his officers. All ships, attack formation. Target the large vessel. If these humans want to play games with us, we'll show. Then what happens when primitives challenge their superiors? The hegemony fleet opened fire with everything they had. Planet-cracking beams, quantum missiles, dimensional disruptors, and bioneural viruses all converged on the Titan. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. The energy beams struck the Titan's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed into the ship's quantum matrix as if they had never existed. The missiles reached the ship's proximity field and transformed into harmless clouds of particles. The dimensional disruptors encountered the ship's reality anchors and were reflected back at their sources. Impossible, Rex whispered, watching his most powerful weapons fail utterly. The Titan's response was swift and decisive. Points of light appeared along its hull, and from these points, beams of pure possibility struck out at the hegemony fleet. Where the beams touched, hegemony vessels simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as if they had never been built. In 30 seconds, 25 of Rex's ships were gone. Not destroyed, not disabled, but completely removed from existence. The remaining 25 ships found their weapon systems failing, their shields collapsing, their engines going offline. Commander, the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking, we've lost all weapons, all shields, and all propulsion. Engineering reports that our quantum cores have been ... convinced to stop working. Rex stared at the display, his enhanced mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The human ship hung in space before him, its hull pulsing with energies that seemed to mock everything he thought he knew about the universe. Commander, the communications officer said quietly, we're receiving another transmission from the human ship. Put it through, Rex said, his voice barely above a whisper. Captain Torres appeared on the screen again, his expression unchanged. Commander, you now have 38 minutes to withdraw from our system. Your weapons have been disabled, but your life support and propulsion systems remain functional. We suggest you use this time wisely. How? Rex asked. How is this possible? Your species is primitive. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Commander Torres said, there's something you need to understand about humans. We don't just think outside the box. We convince the box that it doesn't need to exist. We don't just overcome obstacles. We redefine what obstacles mean. Rex looked around his bridge, seeing the fear in his crew's eyes. What do you want? We want you to leave our system, Torres said simply. We want you to return to your hegemony. Council, we want you to deliver a message. What message? Tell them that Earth is no longer interested in joining the galactic community as a junior partner. Tell them that humanity has decided to become a senior partner instead. Tell them that any future contact with Earth will be conducted as equals or not at all. Rex felt the weight of defeat settling on his shoulders. And if the hegemony refuses? Torres's smile was gentle, but Rex could see the steel beneath it. Commander, we just demonstrated that your most advanced technology is ineffective against ours. We have 37 ships in this system alone. We have colonies throughout the galaxy that you don't even know exist. We have been preparing for this moment for decades. The hegemony will never accept this, Rex said. Then the hegemony will learn what it means to underestimate human ingenuity, Torres replied. You have 35 minutes to leave our system. Commander, I suggest you don't waste them. The transmission ended, leaving Rex alone with his thoughts and his defeated fleet. Around him, his officers worked frantically to restore basic systems, but everyone knew the truth. They had been utterly, completely outclassed by a species they had considered primitive. As the surviving hegemony ships limped out of the Sol system, Rex composed his report to the Council. It was the hardest thing he had ever written, but it was necessary. The galaxy was about to change, and the hegemony needed to understand that they were no longer its undisputed masters. Behind them, the Titan and its escorts maintained their positions, silent guardians of a world that had just announced its arrival as a galactic power. The age of human dominance was about to begin, and it would be built on the foundation of ingenuity, determination, and the unshakable belief that any problem could be solved if you just thought about it the right way. Earth had been underestimated for the last time. Asterisk.